I'm just here in Geneva. First stop is come to the Chateau because it's one of the most iconic parts of Geneva city. If you don't know what it is, it's the gigantic water spout that hopefully is about to come up behind me. It first came kind of naturally just from a hydraulic water plant that produced an excess of pressure that pushed the water into the air, but the Geneva Tourism Board decided to, Geneva Tourism Board, I think Genevan Council decided to make it into a tourist attraction, and now it's a 140 meters high, great gigantic spurt of water that comes out from just there. And if we wait, maybe just a couple of seconds, hopefully it's about to come on. C'est bon? Voilà? Phew. Okay. So from a slightly less wet distance now, perhaps you can see just how high this goes. It's turned on at 9 AM in the morning and left on for the whole day. And it's something that Genevans see and anyone will see when they come to Geneva. The hydraulic mistake happened in 1861. And it was only in 1891, I think, that they just decided this should be a bit more of a spectacle. In 1951, it got moved from the harbour into the centre so it could be seen a bit more visibly. And it really is a feature of Geneva. So, I'm here on the Swiss and French border. It took me about 20 minutes by tram just outside of Geneva. I'm outside the CERN, which is the very famous home of the Hadron Collider. I'm here because it's an exhibition and a place where you can go and actually watch physicists at work. If you come here, your guide is always going to be a physicist who's passionate and knows and works here. So you're always going to have someone who can explain to you about particle physics. But I'm also here because the structure that I'm right in front of right now is where they have an exhibition on the bottom floor, but they also on the top floor have an event space that you can hire out. So I thought I'd go check it out. Hopefully I'll meet a physicist who can explain to me the work they do here, particle physics, because obviously I have no clue or understanding, and just how large the Hadron Collider is. I want to have an idea of the scope of this. So let's go and find someone.
Okay. I'm Bernard Pelker, working at CERN for the outreach activities, and we are happy to welcome here into this big laboratory. Here we are studying particle physics and trying to have a better understanding about matter and the universe, and how to do this, how to handle such work, trying to organize collisions, colliding protons against protons, and from these collisions we try to obtain data in order to have a better understanding of this matter. And behind you, just here, you have a big example coming from the Atlas collaboration, one of our big experiments, with a lot of tracks of particles. And from this huge amount of data, we produce science. We try to increase our knowledge about the universe and what we are made of. And sometimes through the technology we use, and we push this technology at the limit, this technology we use for science, sometimes we have spin-off. For instance, the web, www, is coming from CERN, but also detectors for medicine like TEP scan or MRI are also coming from particle physics. And there is a lot of different spin-off. Sometimes basic or fundamental research produce and accelerate knowledge for humanity. So, welcome in the globe of science and innovation, a huge building which is a metaphor of planet Earth, but also a strong link to sustainable development. And into this building, which is whole wood made, more than 2,500 cubic meters of wood, we can organize beautiful events, sometimes a lecture for general public, or a seminar for CERN scientists, or even a formal seated dinner. And you can imagine into such a beautiful place how beautiful could be the event as well.
Vast and cold. What is it made of? How did it start? What is its destiny? For thousands of years, mankind has been wondering about these questions. The LHC will bring us closer to an answer.
I'm here in Carouge. It's famously the most bohemian part of Geneva. It was only actually acquired as a canton part of Geneva in 1816. It used to be owned by Sardinia, and it was Catholic, and very tolerant of other religions. So it was the place that all of the kind of straight-laced Protestants in the early 19th century would come over here because it was the place where there were lots of bars. And let off steam, then catch the ferry, go back into mainland Geneva, and go back to their, good conventional lives. And it's still got a real flair and feeling of that. It's completely different architecture, loads of small boutiques and artisanal shops. Again, lots of bars. So it's a place that I've come to taste one of Switzerland's most famous exports, chocolate. I've come to Philippe Pascot to taste and experience some chocolate here, and let's go inside.
Bonjour, je me présente, Philippe Pasquet, artisan chocolatier à Genève depuis maintenant 12 ans. Et voilà, je suis ici pour vous faire découvrir ma passion.
And because he doesn't speak much English, we have a translator.
So this is Mr. Pasquet. He's an artisan chocolatier here in Carouge since 12 years. And he's going to show us how to do this marvelous chocolates.
Okay, so here Mr. Philippe is making a ganache. And as you can see, the ganache is made beforehand out of cream and chocolate and infused with various flavours. So these ones are jasmine tea, and then they go through and get coated in another type of chocolate before being pressed with the design on the top. So I wanted to ask Mr. Philippe whether he ever allows people down into the laboratory.
Alors, oui, est-ce que vous laissez les gens descendre dans votre laboratoire?
Alors oui, effectivement, j'aime faire découvrir ma passion aux gens et savoir exactement quel est mon métier, parce que les gens aiment bien manger du chocolat, mais ne connaissent pas toujours exactement quel est le métier de leur métier.
Yes, because he loves his job and he loves to let people discover how is this job, how it works, and how to chocolate, good chocolate.
And so what does he take groups? Does he do demonstrations? How does he?
Est-ce que vous prenez des groupes, vous faites des démonstrations?
Alors oui, on prend des groupes. C'est des groupes minimum de 6 personnes. Ça va jusqu'à 20 personnes dans le laboratoire. Et puis effectivement, on leur fait faire toute explication de la fève du cacao jusqu'à la fabrication du chocolat. Et la production de l'artisan, c'est un peu le métier de chef cuisinier en fait. On a un peu un métier qui est similaire au chef cuisinier.
So yes, they take people from 6 to 20 people, and so they explain them how to create a chocolate. In fact, from the beginning with the fève until the end, and this job is kind of similar with the cooker, with the chef.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me. Merci beaucoup.
Yes.
Merci beaucoup.
Monsieur.
Enchanté.
Merci. Thank you very much.
So I'm now upstairs in Monsieur Philippe's actual shop where he sells all his products, and I have a disastrous feeling that I'm going to be spending quite a lot of money here. So I'm here at Le Beau Rivage, which is one of the most famous hotels here in Geneva. I'm sure most people have heard of it because it's got a Michelin-starred restaurant, Le Chaboté. But what it's also very interesting for is it's got this beautiful historical story to it, where it's been owned by one family, whilst all the other hotels have been bought up by chains and are owned by, organisations. This has been passed on through the generations of a family from the 1800s to now, and it's got this history. You can have events here, you can stay here. You know, it's got the usual facilities of a hotel. But what people might not know about it is it's also got this extensive wine cellar that's picked up wines through the history of this hotel. So because it's been owned by one family, the wine's been able to sit there. So it's got some really old wines, some classic vintages. I've come here, it's called Le Cave, and I'm gonna, not everybody gets to go and have a peek. So I'm gonna go down and have a peek at some of these wines because it's unlikely that I personally can afford to buy them. So let's go downstairs.
So my name is Vincent. I'm a chef sommelier, so head winemakers on a Beau Rivage hotel in Geneva, with one of the more old wine cellar in the Swiss and maybe in the world, because it's a private cellar with a nice history behind this cellar. On the Meyer family, very nice wine cellar, very great, very long history about the wines, because one of the members of the family Meyer, Mr. Meyer, like the wines, is one of patient of the wines is in the hotel, so he drew a good selection, and I'm very lucky because I have very nice young vintage and old vintage for this. Old vintage, the story is based on the years on the label, so for this is very nice. Because my job, I'm very easy. I'm not made the wines. I'm just speak about the wines, so I'm just a messenger between the clients and the winemakers with the bottles.
Could you show us a couple of your sort of favourite bottles
Yeah.
or good philosophies?
I have nice shows. So if you want, maybe for the story, this is one of the more important, because this is one of the first Grand Cru Classé from Bordeaux. One of the more important, the name is Chateau Lafite Rothschild, the vintage 1945. So this is a very nice story for us, because this bottle not moving, it stay all the time in this cellar. And for us, I'm French, and on a French history, 45 is the final of second wars. So the wine is very excellent. 45 is one of the best vintage we have in Bordeaux. And when you try this wine, I try my history of my country, because during the war we do a great wine, and this is an excellent idea. So thank you very much for Mr. Meyer, because he conserved the wine for a long time, and since 1945, and now I'm very lucky because I have a chance to try this wine, one of my history.
And how many bottles of that are there around?
A lot of. I have 18.
18?
Yeah, 16 or 18? 2, 4, 6, yes, 18. Yeah, this is one of the best vintages, 1947. And this is Chateau Latour. Chateau Latour is maybe the best of Bordeaux, one of the best of Bordeaux. But for me, Latour is one of my favorites for the complexity, for the long way when you try the wine. When you try the old vintage from Bordeaux, you forget all. You forget the tannin. You don't speak about, for example, so if you try a young wine, you speak about the complexity, the fruits, the tannin, the longer mousse, more red fruity, more like leather aromatics. Okay, this is the structure of the wine, and the winemakers tell about this. But when you try a very old vintage from Bordeaux, you don't try with the tannin or the culture, or you try just around the history. When you open the bottle, when I open the bottle, I'm very exciting. I'm saying, wow, I'm trying a new word, a new wine, something different. Because 1 year past, I tried Latour 1947, and it's like this. Today, it's more young, maybe more old. And each bottle is like this. So for this, Latour 47 for me, because the terroir from Latour is a more complex, one of the more complex, but for me the more complex, and more elegant on a old wine. So the Beau Rivage Hotel from Geneva is a very long history. And the hotel opened the door in 1865, so you have a good history about this. And now you have the number 5 for the generation for do another history and to keep the respect of Mr. and all the family mayor, and for a long time to keep a spirit of the family hotel, because this one is a palace, one of the big seller, one of the best kitchen. We are 1-star Michelin restaurant, and you have a nice room. The rooms, when you enter in the rooms, you smell the spirit of the rooms, the spirit of the house, and this is very important. And we want to keep this spirit. And each guy works in a different department of the hotel, of the restoration, the conciergerie. Each guy respects this because we work on the same way like the family. We want to respect the history. We want, and maybe 18, 19 years more, the guys like me speak about the spirit than the 1865 on the moment we speak about the family mayor, because it's a great family.
Good evening everyone, my name is Philippe Vignon. I'm the CEO of Geneva Tourism and Conventions based in Geneva, Switzerland. My job is to basically attract more tourists into Geneva. Geneva is an amazing city, just located at the heart of Europe. We have a very high percentage of foreign populations with above 119 nationalities working here in Geneva, both in the international organizations as well as at the head of many international multinationals which are based here in Geneva.
Can you tell me something that pulls people to choose Geneva as a destination over, say, somewhere else in the world?
Okay. We basically have a huge mix of a buzzing city, but just surrounded by a huge countryside where you can test wine, where you can go biking. In summertime, the best thing to do after your morning meeting is to jump in the lake, to swim there, to wakeboard, to water ski. Basically, as you know, in Geneva, it's more of the Latin flair. We tend to work slightly less in summertime because we just fancy the outdoor activities.